happens is in the employment sector is that people hire fresh out graduates. You know, this idea that, and it's not happening now during a recession, but a couple of years ago, you could get a college degree and get $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, depending on where you went to school and what your field of expertise is, starting salary in the U.S. You know, make a decent living. Can't do that in Armenia. You basically work for peanuts, maybe the 70 or 80,000 rand a month kind of a thing, for 3 months, 6 months, until you have proven to your employer that yes, you are in fact a good worker, can do the work. And what many employers will do is if they need 4 positions, they'll hire 12. 3 months later, they'll get rid of 4. And 3 months later after that, that's the 4 they're going to work the position. To hire any other way doesn't make sense because you can't tell based on what they say on their paper that they're fit to do work or not. Consequently, the way forward is to use this apprenticeship model. If you think about all the exposure we have to education here, you know, elementary school students that have access to computers, and we'll talk about later, that doesn't happen in Armenia. There's a big difference between our students in first world countries and those in developing countries. Even if you are poor in a first world nation, you have access to vocational education, how to work on the job, how to learn job skills, how to use a computer, how to study, and so on and so forth, those kinds of skills. If you're wealthy in a developing country, you have to teach that to yourselves because it's not going to be part of your curriculum unless you learn from your family member or you're the kind of student that teaches themselves. That's not going to be coming. So what we need to do is we need to, if you are at all considering having any kind of business in Armenia, that must include an apprenticeship program for you to hire people, train them on the job, so they got some education, but not the education that they're going to need to work for you. And you need to be able to give them a small job where it's worth it for you to pay them a little bit, and you're both happy. They're learning how to work, and you're getting something done, and build up on this. Just like it's just like trade labor. If that is do not invest in business that does not take that into account, because the only way forward with a corrupted educational system, or where the teachers are corrupted, the students actually, I'm really excited about the next generation, the 25 years and up. They have not grown up in the Soviet Union. They are going to be changing the country. They have Western mindsets. The ones of them that haven't left are just they're so frustrated that they just work and work and work and work to relieve their frustration. So if you take an apprenticeship model, since there are now people that want to work and want to learn, those can be successful. What time do we have? Okay. Any questions? Is that 9 o'clock I see on the back wall? Okay, I'm going to be done in 15 or 20 minutes unless we have questions. The next sector I'm going to talk about is information technology, and this is not going to go into detail. It's going to be at a top level, and I just want to give you some ideas from, if I had a business in Armenia or I moved to Armenia and I wanted to get internet service, what would I be looking at, and to get an idea of how privileged we are in this country compared to other developing countries. I also will talk specifically about document encoding for Armenian and why it's really hard to share documents that have Armenian characters in them with people that aren't aware of what's going on technologically in that area. You know, my kids have a grandmother, well, more than one grandmother, that send pictures by electronic mail from their digital cameras and get them and write emails back and forth, and they visit websites and they use Facebook and all this other stuff. And so in America, we're kind of connected that way, or we can connect if we choose to be connected. the average person in America, yes, they do have access to a computer. If they don't own one in their home, they can go use one at the library, and they are computer efficient to the point where they can send and receive emails, and they can download pictures and print their pictures out and that kind of thing. In Armenia, that's not the case at all. If they're retirees, if they're working in the Soviet system, they have no computer knowledge. If they have been working for 10 years, now 10 years ago, 2000, they might have some computer knowledge specifically tied to what they're learned at work. It is only the generation Gen X and Gen Y, they're 25 and under in Armenia, that actually do understand what is email and what is a digital camera and how do I use these things to communicate with other people. So the interest is not there. Also, it's expensive. A digital camera costs twice, 3 times as much in Armenia for the same feature set as it does here. One of the reasons is they have value-added tax, which is higher than our 10% sales tax. It's like 20%, and so on and so forth. Another is that the number of people that want digital cameras is smaller, so there isn't as big as a market. There is no Fry's Electronics where you can go look at 100 different models and choose which one you want. So electronics cost a lot, an absolute cost. Now, if we look at average salary, the cost of electronics is staggering compared to what it costs us relative to what we earn in America and what the equipment costs us. So there is a big gap in information awareness between the Armenian citizens and us, except for maybe the gap is going away with the youngest of its citizens. Any questions? Now you probably pay, what, $25 a month for high-speed internet, maybe 30. If you're paying 40, you want 4, 5, 6 megabits a second or something like that. 1 megabit a second, oh, I spelled that wrong, DSL, I need to change that, is 40,000 dram a month. That is over $100. So what you pay from Southwestern Bell, who are they now? AT&T now, for the $25 DSL Express package, which is 1.5 megabits per second. In absolute cost, it's 4 times more. And then you take in the salary differential. What's interesting is that the 3G wireless modems that plug into your laptop, Vivicell here, 20,000 AMD a month, that's in line with what we pay absolutely in the US. But again, as a percentage of salary, it's expensive. Corporate data, oh my goodness. You're going to pay through the nose for that. I said it's in line with US T1 pricing, but the average business here pays maybe $100 for internet service to operate at business level speeds. You're talking $1,000, $750 to get $800 to get the equivalent in Yerevan. God help you if you go out to the next largest city, Gyumri. So access is absurdly high as a percentage of income. All that to say is it's really hard, even though people have been successful with it, it's really hard from a technology standpoint to export technology, export software, export services to other countries from Armenia. Something that we should be aware of if we want, yes, go ahead.
When you compare Armenian cost with dollars, it's better to give the percentage of their income rather than converting to dollars.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Second, South Korea is much cheaper in internet and they have much better access and higher speed than Americans.
Yes, they do. Right. And so you bring some interesting things. Yeah, I'm trying to communicate this idea when I say it's absurdly high as a percentage of income. Okay, so 3G wireless access is 20,000 dram, $60 a month. Gee, I'm paying that for Sprint. But that's not 50%, 25% of your income, is it? It's different. It's not 25% of a person that works at McDonald's income of the person that works at McDonald's. It might be 10% or something like that, or an entry-level job. So you're absolutely right. When we talk about these costs,